I used to think I was just bad. Turns out I've been fighting my own mouse like it owes me money, and I'm here to prove to you you're doing the same and don't even realize it. This isn't clickbait, this is real, this is raw, this is me fighting for my life while my crosshair moonwalks away because Logitech has unfinished business with a driver update. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of controller players getting all the fancy new aim assist toys like target tracking, sense reduction, zoom snapping, reset vertical recoil. I mean, these just sound like cheats at this point. And if you look at the settings, it's starting to eerily look similar to trainer mods for GTA. You don't need 16 different settings to move a joystick. So now how can we enable aim assist for our pointy, clicky devices and finally get back at these cybernetically enhanced joystick warriors? But before we get into it and you find out what was on my crosshair, hit the like and subscribe button. And if you're feeling spicy, you can leave a comment too.
Here I come.
Now you're probably asking yourself, why are we looking at real life Wally? Why does he cost as much as a Lambo? This little guy has a dirty secret. It's built in, it's unbannable, and it's been gaslighting you since Windows XP. You've been told to turn this feature off by every pro and YouTuber, and yeah, you should. It's impossible to aim. It's like trying to do surgery with your knife strapped to a Roomba. But here's the twist. Mouse acceleration isn't the problem. Windows is. So let's keep Windows Mouse Accel off, and let me explain this dark magic in the simplest way possible. This is Raw Accel. It doesn't just fix the problem, it lets you weaponize it. Move your mouse fast, you go farther. Move it slow, you go less far. Now configure it to your liking, and all of a sudden close quarter fights allow you fast, controlled movements, and long range fights give you precise, deadly accuracy. There are some videos out there claiming Mouse Accel will slow you down in the long run, and that can happen for people who don't watch this video. I've been using Raw Accel for over a month now and have dialed in the settings beyond what aim assist can do. It has taught me how to use two different senses at the same time. This adds a whole new dimension of precision to your mouse. If we look at the footage here, we can see why it gives you a clear advantage in almost every scenario. Need to make a stupid fast flick? Moving your mouse faster will actually get you the result your brain is expecting. Maybe you need to throw utility down and do it faster than you can even think about it. The same goes for movement. Keeping your head on a swivel is incredibly easy when you move like your mouse knows exactly what you want. Now that we know Hisense can get you the flicks you've been dreaming of, what about the other side of this shiny high-tech coin? Low sense. It allows you to track targets like you enter bullet time and your opponent is a Black Ops zombie waiting around for you to respawn them. So what happens when you combine them both? To put it blunt, you become a master of close and long range encounters. Your high sense becomes your target finder, and once locked on, your low sense takes over with a mind of its own, giving that slow-mo feeling. The mistake a lot of these pros and YouTubers make when setting up their Accel is adding a curve to the mouse Accel. Meaning in reality, you would have to learn how to handle multiple different senses for every notch on that curve. When your sense is constantly changing, you'll start to notice all the noise it adds to your aim. That can cause you to miss even slow and simple shots. But with the correct settings, this means no fancy curves to mess up your small, precise movements. You only need to master a second sense. And it's easier than you think. It all depends on what sense you're using right now. So if your mouse sense is on the higher end and you notice you're using mostly just your wrist aim, that should be your high sense. And if you use a sense on the lower end and you're using a decent amount of your mouse pad to aim already, that should be your low sense. Now that we know where you should start, how can we find the long lost partner for your old reliable sense? If only there was a free open source option. Oh, Raw Accel. At first glance it might look like a lot, but it's pretty simple. On the y-axis on the left it shows how fast your sense is, and on the bottom it shows how fast you're moving your mouse relative to your sense. This is the standard. As you can see, your sense does not change at all yet. If we look at the drop down menu, we can see there's actually a few options here. The most important one being subscribe helps a lot and will give you a fuzzy feeling inside. Now that you're subscribed, we can see this linear curve will constantly change your sense the faster you look around in game or even here on the desktop, which surprisingly can be useful here and there, especially if you're a video editor like me. Linear or classic is probably the most commonly used preset, but I'm here to talk about jump. This is the best preset for what we want and the one I use myself. Now you might be saying, Arrow Gear,
this doesn't look like what you had on your platform. You said all the curves are gonna make you have to learn 100 different senses.
Well, as we can see on the left here, we have the smooth input and the output, and clearly it's a bit too smooth for our liking. We want two different senses, not 3,000. So let's uncheck gain and take the smooth factor down to 0, and boom, look at that. Now we have our original sense here at 1, which will be our low end of the sense, and then at 1.5 we have the high end for all our fast flicks. And of course everything can be personalized to your liking. So for example, the output, I have it set to 1.5 times my original sense, but you can set that to whatever you like. And as for the input, I found 15 or 20 works well for me. That's how fast you're gonna have to flick your mouse for the second sense to activate. And you're not gonna wanna set that too low, because then it'll start activating your second sense when you don't want it to be activated. And if it's too high, then it'll never trigger that second sense. As for the output, the sweet spot's gonna be right around 1.5. There should be a noticeable difference when activated, but it shouldn't feel completely out of control. Will take some time to get used to, but once you do it, it should feel more natural than using one sense itself. At least that's how I felt after using it for such a long time. You should try at least for a week so you can really fine tune your settings. Now for my wrist warriors using an already ungodly high sense, I recommend you promote your original sensitivity to the next level and use that as the high sense. You will have to get used to using a lower sense for a while, but it's worth it for the long range precision you'll gain. And if you want a good place to start, all you have to do is divide your in-game sense by your output, and that'll be your new in-game sense. I'd recommend actually getting comfortable with your new sensitivity before flipping on Raw Accel. That goes for anyone. If you're not already dialed in with your base sense, adding Raw Accel is like trying to run a marathon in flip-flops. You're asking to trip and fall and probably get a fungal infection. So if you've been hard stuck in silver, or one of those people using a post-it note as a mouse pad or whatever it might be, this is the time to try something new. I think it definitely made FPS games a little bit more interesting for me, but you should know there are some games better for tracking and some games better for flicking to your target, and that goes for weapons as well. But whenever you're switching games, you might have to play with the input a little bit, but for games like the finals, I found that Raw Accel is a perfect fit. And there you have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I took a much needed break from technology for a while and completely missed season 7, but I'm back, and I'm back with a vengeance. At least that's the plan. So if you're in the Discord and you keep complaining, hey, these videos are free, man. So if you want more, just like, subscribe, leave a little silly comment, and make sure you complain in the Discord. Bye.